Welcome to Seattle, home of the Seattle Seahawks, where the 12th man is alive and in the building.
Time now for Seahawks Central Radio, hosted by Jamie Nicole, Football Girl, and Kevin Norman.
We go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us, like the ceiling can't hold us. We go back, this is the moment, tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over.
Welcome to SeahawksCentralRadio. This is Jamie Nicole, also known as Football Girl.
And this is Kevin Norman. Go Hawks!
Go Hawks! Hey guys, this is our first little broadcast here, so we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, I guess. First, we're brother and sister. It's nice. It's not nice at all.
So
Anyway,
Jamie, what do you do?
what do I do?
Correct.
What don't I do you mean?
Exactly.
So Kevin and I also do this, and we have a football site as well here in Seattle, the greatest city ever, in my opinion, Emerald City, football-girl.com. And we've been Seahawks fans since we were babies. I haven't.
Well, yeah, we grew up with football.
Yes, we did. This is true.
All right, so the website is football and then a dash girl.com. Go check it out. It's kind of like Saturday Night Live for football.
Don't judge me, though.
Jamie's a star of that. There's podcasts, there's comics.
Yep. Why did you say dash when we've been saying hyphen forever?
I always say dash for hyphen, so ever since you started saying hyphen, I've been like, what? Okay.
That's so weird.
I don't want someone to type football-girl.com.
Oh, no, nobody's going to do that. So, Kevin.
Yes.
Being our first broadcast and getting to know us a little bit, who is your all-time favorite Seahawks player? Of all time. Of all of the time.
Well, it's a little unfair, but I picked Matt Hasselbeck.
And why?
More recent of a player, but it's just his attitude, his leadership. He was one of like the main quarterbacks that came in and sacrificed a lot for the city. First quarterback to get us to a Super Bowl. And I think his departure was a little unfortunate, the timing of it, but I think he was just amazing. Especially one of my favorite plays was back in Green Bay in the playoffs when he said, I'm going to get the ball and I'm going to score. He didn't score. He threw a pick six. But it's just that kind of attitude where it's just like, I've got the confidence that I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take care of business.
Absolutely. Actually, it's funny because a lot of people when he left was really like, no, Matt Hasselbeck, we need something new. But I was really sad to see him go. I mean, that's a lot of, who's here for a bit?
Well, there was a little bit of controversy in my circle of friends because some people were like, okay, it's about time. Hasselbeck's getting older. We need to upgrade to someone else. We need to either go younger. We need to get someone who's won a Super Bowl or won in the playoffs more frequently. But for some other people, it was more like, that's an end of an era right there. We went from Matt Hasselbeck to then Tavares Jackson, and then within the last year, we had that Matt Flynn, Tavares Jackson, and Russell Wilson competition. Yeah. And then what do we get out of that? We get Russell Wilson, who may be the next greatest thing to happen to Seattle.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to sneak that in there. That's hilarious because I had like my whole set where I wasn't going to talk about anybody like really current because I thought for sure you were going to talk about Russell Wilson. That's funny.
Well, who is your favorite all-time player for the Seahawks? And we're not going to go current with this. We're going
I completely decided that with this question, because I get asked this actually quite often, I was just going to take the entire current roster out of the question and just do based off of the past. Because it's really difficult, for me, I just have a really hard time with that. So
there's so many personalities on the Seahawks right now. Well, I mean, you got your Richard Sherman, your Golden Tate, you've got your Russell Wilson, your Marshawn Lynch. Like, there's too many guys on the Seahawks to just pin one down and say, this is the most awesome person.
And I will get to this in a second, but I went to Richard Sherman's charity softball game this last weekend. So I got to actually see in person a lot of who attended anyways, their different personalities, and I was quite surprised. For some of them, that even having correspondence with them, via social network or the Real Rob Report or whatever it is, like seeing them playing softball out of their element, like definitely brought personalities out. So there is a lot of interesting personalities on the current roster right now. However, back to the question at hand, I'm going to have to say Cortez Kennedy, which I know I'm probably not the only one out there that would say that.
It's going for the defense, huh?
Going for the defense, yeah. Well, 8 Pro Bowls, 5 All-Pro, the 10 years that he was with us or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. That's my vote. And I think not too long ago that Bleacher Report agreed with me, so I'm not wrong on this. I'll get an email, I'm sure.
I don't know if I always agree with Bleacher Report, though.
Yeah, that's true.
But there are some great writers on there.
Yeah, but I can always be like, look, someone else agrees with me. I'm not in this by myself. So actually, now that's kind of, since we're talking about the past, you brought up a conversation with me that is, what site is that on about the greatest uniforms?
So this is going on NFL.com right now. They're having a greatest uniform in NFL history contest, and they have all the current uniforms, and they have some of the past uniforms, and they're divided into brackets, separated that way. And so the Seahawks have advanced to the 3rd round as of today for their current uniform in the current uniform bracket.
And aren't they pinned against the Saints currently in that bracket?
Correct.
Right, that's what I thought. So the question being, in your opinion, what is the greatest uniform in Seahawks history? And what do you think is the worst in Seahawks history?
So for me, I really like the original uniforms, but it's the socks in the lines that they had on them. But right now, I really like those wolf gray Seahawks uniforms. I didn't like them when they first came out.
I know, you were not a fan. I remember that.
But when you actually saw them on a player, I was like, oh, that's slick.
That is. Well, I like those retro uniforms too. That's not my favorite that we've had. My favorite is the ones we have right now, the blue ones. Those are definitely my favorite. But those retro, with those socks, they're like the soccer socks or whatever.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That really is. I really do like those. The worst uniform is the one that green one. The one that...
The lime green.
That KJR, Slickhawk, wears all the time. I don't know what they were thinking about that. I think you and I both agreed on that one.
I remember they got out on the field that game, and I was like, what is going on?
It was like an off-color green, kind of, in my opinion, too. Like, I don't know. It's just not... We're the Seahawks blue, I don't know. I don't know what that's green about. And I think they only had them for, 1 year.
All right. Well, we're going to go to break really quick. When we come back, we will have Frank Schwab from Yahoo Shutdown Corner.
I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Football fans, looking to get healthy this year? Now is the time, and I have the perfect place for you. Save 10% at onit.com/football radio. Exclusive PFC radio listeners save 10% off their order. That's onit.com, ONNIT.com/football radio.
Football fans, check out ProFootballCentral.com for all the latest NFL news and analysis. Also, check out the very popular Pro Football Central Radio Network for awesome NFL talk around the league. Go to ProFootballCentral.com. ProFootballCentral.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today we have Frank Schwab from Yahoo Shutdown Corner. How you doing today, Frank?
Doing good.
Thanks for being on the show.
Sure.
All right, Frank. So we have a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
But before I do that, I would like you to sing the Wisconsin fight song, but only because you tweeted out when we found out that you were going to be on the show that you would rather sing the Wisconsin fight song than talk about Russell Wilson, which is probably the funniest tweet I've ever read in my life, by the way.
I'll probably end up doing both, but yes.
Actually, you probably will. All right, I want to just do a couple seconds. You don't have to do the whole thing. I just want to know that you can do this. Okay, ready?
I can. It's my alma mater. I have to be able to. On Wisconsin, on, punch right through the line. See, I got it.
That was awesome. Cute.
March the ball right down the field. Yeah. There's a reason I'm a writer and not a singer.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, we need to give him a trophy for that.
We need to put applause in there. We need to do. All right, so we'll get. Oh, there you go.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. I hope you're at least bowing a little bit. All right. Okay, Frank. So our first question for you is actually, what do you like best about being a professional blogger?
I just like the ability to write about whatever the topic of the day is, whether it be, serious stuff like Aaron Hernandez or goofy off the wall stuff like Colin Kaepernick wearing a Dolphins hat, or, writing basically a love letter to Cam Newton saying I think he's, the best quarterback in football nobody talks about. And it's just, there's such freedom to do whatever you want. And obviously at Yahoo we have such a huge audience. That's really cool. And I do like interacting with most of the people who like to tell me how dumb I am, but it's just fun. Hey, I write about football for a living. I can't really complain.
That's true. Oh, that's true. Well, we appreciate you.
Sure.
All right. So
I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's appreciation all around. So we did a little bit of research, but what we wanted to find out that we couldn't is, what NFL team do you root for?
That's funny. I grew up rooting for the Packers. I was born in Wisconsin, but when you start covering the NFL, and I covered the NFL for 10 years as a beat reporter for newspapers, and I covered the Packers first, and then I went on and covered the Broncos for 7 years, you really do lose all loyalty. I don't root for anybody anymore. I root for stories. I root for good games. I love the game. I love watching NFL. But I don't root for any team anymore because I really truly don't think you can do your job if you root for a team. You do get a little your sense of fairness, everything gets thrown out of whack a little bit. If I'm saying whatever, Jordy Nelson is the best receiver in the NFL, well, that's not really fair. I have an obligation really to my readers to be honest and total line. And if like going back to the Packers example, if Aaron Rodgers has a bad game, I can't write that he has a good game. I have to write that he has a bad game. It's just one of those things where I don't think you can be a fan and objectively write about the NFL. And, I get my kicks in with Wisconsin basketball and the Milwaukee Brewers. So I still am a fan. I obviously understand the mentality of fans who I deal with daily on email, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. But as far as just rooting for a team now, I root for the game. I root for the NFL. I root for good stories. And I love watching the games, but not really one team anymore.
Right. Well, that's actually a really good answer.
Yeah, definitely. Really like the objectivity in the news media for football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good job on that, Frank.
I appreciate it. And people get mixed up, like with a Cam Newton. I'm now obviously on the record saying I think Cam Newton's phenomenal. I think he's a great, great player. It doesn't make me a homer. It's just that's what I think. I didn't go to Auburn. I've only been to Charlotte like 3 times in my life. I don't have any. But I think sometimes we do root for our projections. Our guy. I'm going to pick Seattle Seahawks to win the Super Bowl this year. I would kind of like to be proven right on that. So
right.
Maybe that is quote unquote rooting, but
we would like
but
that.
Not in it. Yeah, exactly. But not any specific team anymore, just because I don't think you can do the job if you do that.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the Seahawks, we have a couple questions for you. Obviously, that's what this is about. I don't know why I keep saying that. Who do you think currently is the most important player for the Seahawks defense?
For the Seahawks defense, that's a really good question. I think one guy who's really important is Cliff Averill. I think that they brought him in for a specific purpose, and that's to get after the quarterback. And he's had some good years with Detroit, and now he comes in, and he really needs to be an impact guy for them. They paid him to be an impact guy. I think he needs to be an impact guy. I think that though that defense is just so strong from top to bottom, I think you could pick just about anybody. I think even if one guy has a down year, I think they're going to be very good. That secondary is just so good. It covers up a lot. But if I had to pick one guy who I think is kind of the X factor for that defense, who we don't really quite know about yet. I'd say Cliff Averill. I think he is. He's a guy who can really take that defense to the next level if he plays like he did his good years in Detroit.
I think that we'll see that. I mean, I'm hoping that we'll see that, but I think that you're absolutely right, is that, he has a definite purpose, and that's why he was brought over here. So, what do you think, who is on the Seattle roster who you believe has the most potential out of everybody?
I see, here's where I'll be called a homer. It's Russell Wilson. People, the thing is, you look back at his year last year, and his raw numbers weren't as good as Robert Griffin. But they didn't really let him loose until about week 5. His first 4 weeks, they were really, really conservative with him. From weeks 5 on, he was as good as any quarterback in football. And I think he's only going to get better. He's just got a great feel for the game. I really think he can be an elite quarterback who I think, obviously, as I just said a couple minutes ago, who can lead his team to the Super Bowl. And he just does it all well. He runs with a purpose. He's not one of these guys, a lot of young quarterbacks get in this trouble where if their first read isn't there, they're so athletic they tuck it and run. He runs when it's there, if that makes sense. He's not just a guy who, panics and tucks it and runs. I think he runs when he has to run, when it's going to be a successful play for him. He's just got such good command of the offense. He's a great leader for them. And it just, drafting him where they did in the 3rd round totally changed our franchise, I thought. Now you got a quarterback who isn't making much money. You can spend a lot of money on guys like Percy Harvin or Cliff Averill. And, because you still have this window where your quarterback's not making the Matthew Stafford type of money. You've got a shot to really build a great, great roster around him. And I think Seattle's recognized that and have done that. And I think Russell Wilson's only going to get better. So
you do not believe that he's going to have a sophomore slump this year?
I don't think so, just because he's played so much. He had a lot of experience in college. He played a lot last year, played 18 games if you count the playoffs. I just see him as a guy who the success isn't going to go to his head like we've seen, some other guys who have had sophomore slumps. I really just think he's been through this. He's beyond his years almost. I know it's a cliche, but he didn't seem like a rookie at the end of last year. I don't think he's going to seem like a second-year guy. He just seems like a veteran. I really don't think, even if he has a little bit of a sophomore slump, it's not going to be much. And also it helps when he's on a great roster. A lot of guys who, a lot of these quarterbacks who come in and do have sophomore slumps, sometimes the roster around them is just not that great, and that hurts them. You add a Percy Harvin, and I just don't see how he really takes that much of a step back, if at all.
Good answer. So, out of curiosity, who did you pick to win the Super Bowl last year?
I don't know. I was covering college last year. I don't know if I officially made a pick. I can't even remember, to be honest with you, who I thought might win the Super Bowl. I was, very high on Green Bay coming off that 15-1 season. I thought San Francisco would be really good again. They came close. I obviously didn't pick Baltimore, so I didn't get that one right, but.
If you were covering college, what did you think about the Rose Bowl last year?
Oh God,
that year.
Yeah, you had to, right? Yeah. It's nothing like going to the Rose Bowl 3 straight years and losing. That's a good time.
That's got to hurt.
Jamie
and I won the Big Ten. They won the Big Ten.
Jamie and I have Washington Huskies tickets, so we've hit about a 9-year defeated by the Ducks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. That's the one thing in covering college for Yahoo's Dr. Saturday blog is Oregon has just built this program. It's a really remarkable story what they've done, because Oregon's never been a power before, but this the Nike kind of mystique behind them, and they've gone with the uniforms, and they've got this just great kind of atmosphere about their program now that they get these top recruits. I think they're absolutely just a fascinating program.
They did get away with murder this year with those sanctions, though, in my opinion.
I do too. I agree with that. I think they got off really light.
Aaron Hernandez didn't, but Oregon did. Okay, so speaking of veterans later on, how many yards do you think Marshawn Lynch will get this year? Just off the top.
He was so good. He was so good at the end of last year. I mean, rushing for 100 yards and 10 of his last 12, I think it was. he's just such a, there was a time in his career when I thought he was just going to be just a guy, I mean, he didn't average that much, and all of a sudden it was like that run against the Saints just kind of sparked something, and he's been great ever since. I don't see any reason in this run-first offense, I don't see any reason he can't get 1,400, 1,500 yards rushing. And the good thing for Seattle is if they don't want him in that role necessarily to carry so much, I think they have two good backups. Turbin, I think he's got a lot of talent. And this Christine Michael they drafted out of Texas A&M is a physical freak that can even add some carries. So I would pencil Marshawn in somewhere between 1,400 to 1,500 yards. He was just so dominant at the end of last year. I think that's another reason why I think that Seattle ends up in the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I really like this conversation. I'm really glad that we had you. Well, thank you so much, Frank, for being on with us. I greatly appreciate everything that you said.
And especially the parts about Seattle going to the Super Bowl. So.
Oh, yeah, it's not a popular opinion. So.
Really going out on a limb there.
Someone who is, slightly a Packers fan at times. So.
Indeed, we shall see. I've never been right before, so maybe that's bad for you guys.
You shouldn't have said that. Now I'm nervous. We're going to edit that part out completely.
Hey, there's a first time for everything, right?
That's true. That's very, very true. Good point.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. We greatly appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon sometime.
For sure. Thank you.
And we're back. And so that you know, Seahawks Central Radio is brought to you by Onnit. If listeners go to onnit.com/football radio, they can get 10% off vitamins and supplements.
Yeah, pretty excited. The Melatonin 5, the one with the lemon balm, favorite.
Yeah, they have a bunch of vitamins and supplements and workout equipment. So
only people want to get in shape like us.
Hey, if you want to get in shape, get on it.
That was pretty good. Are you the spokesperson? You're making up your own jingles and blurb writing over here. I like
there
it.
We go. So Jamie, you went to Richardson's softball game.
Yeah, at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma this last weekend. It was a lot of fun. If anybody really knows very much about us, is that I'm just now getting into baseball, which kind of obviously is coupled with softball. So it's pretty funny because I was frazzled trying to find fans and whatnot. And so I think I said third plate and I got laughed at, so it was pretty funny, but it was
plate.
I'm behind third plate. Yeah, and I just aired that.
So which player do you think did the best in the softball game?
Golden Tate, absolutely. He won MVP of the game, and if this football thing doesn't work out, it's not going to, but if it didn't, he definitely has a career. Definitely. And he could play for the Mariners and we'd actually win some games. They had a home run derby before the game, and Sean Kemp was there, which was awesome. He's super tall, by the way, and he can hit a ball. Doug Baldwin was there. He even claimed on Twitter that he's not so good. He isn't, but he's so funny. He was sliding for plates a good couple feet. So he's just sliding across the field. It was awesome. Earl Thomas can catch probably any ball out there, no matter how it was nuts. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, but definitely Golden Tate, MVP. He did awesome. They did this little bit with the referee from the Packers game.
Oh, I saw a thing about that.
Yeah, on the news where Russell Wilson, he was the captain of one team, and then the Trufant brothers were the captain of the other team. It was supposed to be Pete Carroll, but unfortunately something came up, and so they just pulled the Trufant brothers and had them both as captains. And there was a play, I don't know, something happened at the first base where Cam Chancellor happened to be the first baseman. Am I saying that right?
I believe you are.
Anyway,
first baseman.
It was really funny because it was an inappropriate call, quote unquote, or whatever, and Russell Wilson just charges out there and he starts arguing with the ref and he throws off his hat and he picks up the first base and he throws it. It was so, and they were all laughing and it was funny. It was a great show. It was a lot of fun. They had a couple people out there that paid to play or sponsored to play. Man, some of those guys can hit. It was football player, and a couple basketball players. Larry Fitzgerald was there. There was two players from the Cardinals. Larry Fitzgerald is actually a really good softball player too. It was so much fun. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time. And now they're going to do it every year. They did it for Richard Sherman's blanket coverage charity. which and they did actually 2 charities there. They did Home for Heroes and then his blanket coverage. And the blanket coverage basically is something that the Sherman family does in order to get supplies to kids, whether it be funding for school or school supplies or musical instruments for a musical program or, clothes or whatever it is. That's why they call it the blanket coverage, because it basically blankets any need that a child
Everything.
has. Absolutely. It's a really good foundation. They also had out their Homes for Heroes, which is for veterans who happen to be without homes. They have a charity where they help build homes for these veterans who have served in the, military services with us. And they had a couple out there on the field and they got pictures taken. It was a really neat thing. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have their mission statement right here. And just so you know what their exact mission statement is, it's to ensure that as many children as possible be provided with proper school supplies and adequate clothing.
Yeah, it was cool.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Covers everything.
Pretty much, yeah. Blanket coverage is actually a really appropriate name for that foundation.
So I think the other question I have about this is, how did Richard Sherman play?
He actually did really good. He hit a couple homers. He did really good. I was not surprised that as an athlete there would be a bunch of football players that played really well in softball. That's not really surprising at all. Kim Chancellor didn't do very good at the hitting part of it, but he caught, that man's really tall. What is he, 6'4" or something like that? And he jumped up and caught some balls that I was like, whoa. I hope and I think the guy took pictures of him midair. It was really awesome. There was a lot of people, pretty much everybody did a really good job, and then Doug Baldwin goofed off. That's how it went. And he tweeted out that he has so much respect because he couldn't track the ball. But the only other thing about Doug Baldwin that was really cool is that he actually signed autographs in the middle of playing. He was the only player that would stop and pull balls and pull t-shirts and pull posters and pull whatever and just sign it. He had to have signed, I don't know, thousands of autographs just that night alone.
Wow.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. They're going to make it an annual thing, they're saying. So I definitely hope to see people there next year. It was amazing.
Now, I saw there were pictures on your Facebook with you guys hanging around Lawyer Malloy, or?
Yeah, Lawyer and I are homies now. So
does he follow you on Twitter now?
Yes, he does. And this is why. If you remember, we sort of met him at a Huskies game a year ago.
Yeah.
Because the guy next to our season ticket, my brother and I have season tickets for the Huskies, and the guy next to us when we were in Clink was the basketball coach for Lawyers, one of Lawyer's daughters. And so they, we kind of got introduced. I'm sure he doesn't remember it all. Well, we're standing in line outside at Cheney Stadium, and I was actually, a bunch of fans wanted to meet me, so I was out doing stuff. So I was walking across the parking lot, and this truck that was huge goes driving by, bumping music, and then honked. And I'm like, that's a player who wants attention. It was Lawyer Malloy. Driving right next to him was Cam Chancellor, who has an amazing car. Cam Chancellor gets out of his car and just beelines it right to the stadium.
He didn't want anything to do with anyone. He was just oh.
Yeah, gotta go now. So he goes beeline straight to the stadium, and Lawyer signed autographs and took pictures. So I was standing in line, and I'm not going to walk over there. You know how I am. I don't go up to players. That's just, there's so many people that do. I can't imagine how frustrating that can get sometimes. So give them their space. There's no reason for it. But I tweeted him, and I was like, I see you. And he followed me, and he gave me the emoji eyes. And I was like, Lawyer's my new best friend. Sorry, Joe. So it was a lot of fun. I really like Lawyer Malloy, and I hope to, interview him sometime.
So are you and Doug Baldwin homies on Twitter? Is that?
They're also homies on Twitter. The funny thing is that we're friends on Twitter, but if I was walking down the street, they'd never know who I was. They were just that weird girl.
So basically, you can make some interesting friends on Twitter.
Yeah, and anybody can. I mean, I do. There's a lot of us on Twitter.
All right, so let's go back to a little bit of football, not softball, but football.
It was football softball though. It was
softball.
It was soft foot ball.
So let's talk about James Carpenter.
Oh yes, who plans to return to left guard
next to Russell Okung.
Yeah. 3 years of experience.
Only played in 16 games
because of his injuries, if I'm not mistaken. Right.
Yep. And so I would say he currently struggles with run blocking, which is the concern. However, if you look at how many games he's actually played in, it could be that he's recovering. So he needs to just get back in the groove of things.
Right. I mean, if he is healthy this season, I don't see why it wouldn't be a big deal. I mean, Pete Carroll would have to emphasize the, run first, but it should be fine. I mean, what do you think? What do you think?
Okay, so Pete Carroll has emphasized a run-first approach again. Even though Russell Wilson's a passing quarterback, obviously, but Pete Carroll is emphasizing the run-first approach. So we would need James Carpenter there to block. And the offensive line is really competitive right now. Yeah. But positions will likely be moved around as we see every year. Pete Carroll's moving that line around throughout the season. It's possible that Carpenter will get moved around as well. And it's really too early for Carroll to give up on a first-round selection. And on top of that,
he has had too little playing time in order for us to tell.
If you look at Russell Okung, the same thing kind of happened to him with his high ankle sprains.
Oh, you're right.
So it's kind of like Carpenter could come back and have the success that Okung had because Okung was in the Pro Bowl last year.
Right, that's true. Well, and from the things that we saw, this could be a good move. I think that Pete will give him a chance. He's always given people a chance.
Definitely. I think James Carpenter just needs to jump back in and get right back in the groove of things. I mean, every player has some stuff to work on, and I think he'll be good to go.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're gonna head to break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
All right. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, guys. Excitingly enough, we are here with Ian Keyon. Ian.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, how are you today?
Doing great.
Good. Glad to have you on our first broadcast. You should get a medal or something. Thanks. I think we're going to send you a golden cape or something awesome for being our first guest. So, Ian, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself? Oh, cue the clapping. That was all for you, Ian. I hope you feel special.
I'm the NFL editor for Bleacher Report. Started off, used to run my own website, Sideline Scouting, which is an NFL draft website, and then I got to know a lot of people and ended up with a job with Bleacher Report after writing there for a little bit. And I oversee the NFC writers and a lot of the writer program.
That's awesome. You sound like you're very ambitious.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. We've lived in 5 states in 5 years to get here. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin and I did a little bit of research on you. We were really excited to have you on the show. And we did see that your sidelinescouting.com is currently in hiatus. Is that still correct?
Yeah, basically what happened was that was kind of a side project. Me and my best friend from college started about 4 years ago. Both of us ended up with full-time jobs. He works as media relations contact for the Tampa Bay Rays, and I work now full-time for Bleacher Report. So we just no longer had time to really put our all into it, and we didn't want to put out subpar content. If we were gonna do it again, we wanted to be able to scout standard plus players, which is what we were doing in the past, but we didn't really have the time commitment to put that together this year. So we're in hiatus right now.
Yeah, well, we just wanted to say that when Kevin and I were looking at it, we found it really exciting. So if, we're sad it's in a hiatus, it seems awesome. So we also, not to bust you out too much, but as you know, we did a little researching on you, as I said, and we found out that you're a Wisconsin fan.
Oh, yeah. I hail from Wisconsin and currently live there. So I've been a Wisconsin fan my whole life. One of my cousins plays on the basketball team these days. So. Oh, nice. So we're on the phone with the cheesehead. Well, we have a couple questions for you if you feel like you want to talk about some Wisconsin stuff. Definitely. Cool. Okay. So ready? Let's go. Do you believe that the Hail Mary play has been sensationalized by the news media? Not at all. I think it was I realize I'm talking to Seattle people too, so.
Right.
It's fun.
But I mean, I don't really think so. I mean, it was. I say this as someone who cheers for the Packers, but it was the worst call I've ever seen live in an NFL game. So, I mean, I think the part that was sensationalized was the fact that it was replacement refs doing it. I'm not convinced that regular refs wouldn't have screwed it up too, but I mean, I don't think it was sensationalized. It definitely was warranted. All the reaction that it got, it was a terrible call and actually affected some part of the outcome of the season. So.
It's really good to get your opinion because, like, as you say, we are Seahawks fans, being Seahawks Central Radio, and Kevin and I have the opposing opinion. But it's good to be able to discuss that with somebody and hear, an opinion without too much anger in it. So actually, that leads me into my next question. So even though the Seahawks versus Green Bay game is in preseason this year, do you believe that the players will play more passionately than they would normally do because of that play? Possibly between, like, Jennings and Tate?
No, I think those guys, I mean, NFL players let stuff like that go. They have other things to worry about than a play that happened last year. That, I mean, it wasn't something like Indelican Sue stomping on a player or whatever. It was a play that was the outcome of the referees. It really didn't have anything to do with a rivalry between two players on the field or anything like that, or bad blood between the teams. I think they'll play with the same intensity as always, and since it's preseason, they'll probably play less than they did last year because it's preseason,
Right. Makes sense. All right. Well, how about this one? Mike Holmgren and Matt Hasselbeck are direct links to Brett Favre. As a Packers fan, what is your opinion of the Packers retiring Brett Favre's number?
It's a no-brainer to me. I mean, it's what happened with Favre was unfortunate, but I mean, people have to let that stuff go. I was always a proponent of Aaron Rodgers. I thought it was smart that they let Favre go. There are a lot of people in state here that were really upset about that. But at the same time, Favre won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. He was a legend here. I'm going to say he's the second greatest quarterback in Packer history because Aaron Rodgers is better. But, I mean, he's got to get his number retired here. He means so much to the franchise in Green Bay. It wouldn't make any sense if he didn't.
Absolutely. We agree with you. I'm actually a big Brett Favre fan myself.
So are there a lot of fans that are angry maybe because he went to go play for Minnesota and that might be why they wouldn't want his number retired?
Yeah, there's a lot of bad blood in the state, especially when he went to Minnesota. A lot of people saw that as kind of a traitor move, as if he did it out of spite to support the Packers. But, I mean, to be honest, even it worked out for Packer fans perfectly because I have friends who are Viking fans that I've grown up with around here, and they've always hated Brett Favre, and they hate him even more now because he threw an interception in the NFC championship game. So, I mean, it all worked out. So,
right. So, Ian, do you follow Aaron Rodgers on Twitter by any chance?
Yes, I do.
Isn't he not hilarious? Like, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's one of the funniest athletes that I follow. He's always tweeting pretty funny things and a lot of pop culture stuff.
Right. Well, and then, like, one of the reasons I like Brett Favre is because he was so funny as a quarterback. So I think it's awesome that Aaron Rodgers is too. I follow him on Twitter. I think he's funny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's great.
So do you have any predictions coming for this coming year? Any that you want to share?
Predictions. I would predict that the 49ers and the Seahawks are going to be the two best teams in the NFL.
I like you.
Do you think the Seahawks will meet the Packers in the playoffs?
I mean, I can't. It's hard to predict playoff seedings and everything, but I think both teams will be in the playoffs. If they do meet in the playoffs, it'll be a tough matchup. I really like what Seattle did this offseason, adding Percy Harvin. That makes that offense virtually unstoppable. And that's why I think the Seahawks and the 49ers are both kind of the favorites in the NFC right now. The 49ers it basically became an arms race in the NFC West. The 49ers went out and made a ton of moves to better their team. So,
Absolutely. I'd have to agree with you. Kevin, do you have any other questions?
No, that was it. Well, perfect. Well, Ian, thank you so much for coming on our first podcast.
Absolutely. Do you want to give out his Twitter handle in case anybody wants to get in contact with him?
Yeah, it's at Ian Keyon NFL.
all right, thanks, guys. I enjoyed
Thanks so
being on.
much. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Ian.
Football fans, check out ProFootballCentral.com for all the latest NFL news and analysis. Also, check out the very popular Pro Football Central Radio Network for awesome NFL talk around the league. Go to ProFootballCentral.com. ProFootballCentral.com.
Welcome back, guys. Hope you had a great break. We want to thank Frank Schwab for coming on our show. That was a great interview. I'm so happy that he was here. If you guys want to follow him on Twitter, you can do that. It is Why Shut Down. And we want to thank our sponsors, onit.com. Our listeners get 10% off of vitamins and supplements just by listening to us, I guess. It's an exclusive offer. I'm excited.
Evidently, they have a chimp head kettlebell.
I know. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? It's like 35 pounds, though. Are you going to be able to lift it? Because that's what you're getting for Christmas.
Ooh, I'm a skinny guy. Actually, no, I'm actually been working out to not be a skinny guy.
I know. So this chimp head kettlebell will
awesome. Work.
Right.
Definitely. And that 10% off is on vitamins and supplements, just to be clear.
Yes.
So you want to get in shape? Get on it. I'm just going to keep saying that.
I like it. I love the sponsors. I like the chimp head kettlebell. I just like it. So I'm going to get on it.
Definitely. And also be sure to go to Pro Football Central to listen to other podcasts.
Our podcast family. Yeah. They're just as cool as us. I mean, I guess I could say they're just as cool as us. So, yeah, did you hear about the Guinness Book of World Records? The thing that's happening? It's like the coolest thing ever. You didn't hear about it, did you?
Yes, but I'm going to pretend like I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, you're lame. Anyways, so the Guinness Book of World Records just accepted an application from us to have the Seahawks versus 49ers game in Week 2 here at CenturyLink Stadium, because we're going to attempt to be the loudest crowd roar. How appropriate is this? Out of all the games of the season, too, like how appropriate is for this to happen? I'm super excited.
I mean, especially that game. That's going to be a really hyped up one. But, I mean, come on. It's CenturyLink Field. We got this. We got this.
If anybody has tickets to that game, because they're like super expensive, I don't even know if we're going to be able to go. But if anybody does have tickets to that game, you better buy throat lozenges for the day after. We're going to have like half of Seattle is going to be walking around raspy.
Like, people are going to stand outside the stadium, and for the next week in Seattle, you're just going to hear the voice like, "How are you doing today?"
It's going to be crazy. I'm so excited. And I have like no doubt in my mind that we're totally going to break the record. I don't actually know what the current record is or what the like festivities. Was it like a football game? Was it not a football game? I don't know. We'll have to look that up maybe for another podcast. But
yeah,
this is definitely going to be.
Should we make guesses as to what it was?
To what?
The loud. Yeah.
I want to say it's football, but I think I'm being, that's like my sport, so I don't know if I'm being a little biased or not. If anything after that, I would say maybe basketball. I don't know.
Could it have been? Well, Texas A&M has a 12th man.
That's true.
So
it's possible. It's a 12th man.
It could be a 12th man thing.
It's just bred and like the 12th man name. Like we're loud.
And the Seahawks actually license out the 12th man name from Texas A&M, which is why we're allowed to use it. Yeah. So it could be that, their crowd's really loud. Maybe that's might have been where it started. This is all just speculation, though. That's my guess. Yours is a random basketball game.
Well, I just like that. I just pulled that out of my behind. I have no idea. I heard, are they loud at soccer games? I know that they somebody got stabbed not too long ago at a soccer game in Mexico. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't even in the States. It could have been, I don't know.
I went to a Sounders game recently, and it was more, it was loud, but it wasn't Seahawks loud. The 12th man didn't feel like it was there in the spirit that, when you're at a football game screaming your lungs off at the opposing team's offense, that is loud.
Yeah.
The soccer game was just noise.
I do want to correct you that it wasn't recent that was last year. And that was
that's just how I talk. Recently, the last soccer game that I went to was a year ago. You're correct. But I'm going to say it was a week ago.
Right. No, I totally get it. They totally get it. And that's why I haven't gone to a soccer game or a Sounders game, because I hear that from a lot of soccer fans, is that it's absence of the 12th man in CenturyLinks. I don't personally go myself.
That's
I'll
correct.
go to Safeco for sure, but that's one of the elements that I love about going to CenturyLink is, my ears bleeding the next day. It's, extra benefit.
I'm completely sorry, but I'm also not a baseball fan, but Safeco Field is just kind of absence of Seattle, the way that's gone downhill.
Burn, you suck. I am so...
Can we get booing? Can we get a booing sound?
For Kevin, you're booing yourself? You're booing yourself?
Yeah, myself. I'll be evil on that one.
That's ridiculous. Well, while we're waiting, if we do get a booing sound ever, we, in this Seahawks versus 49ers Guinness Book of World Records thing, they're calling it, well, at least Seahawks fans are calling it Operation Volume 12, which I thought was totally appropriate and such a cute little catchy name. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. If I can't get into that game, I'm standing outside that stadium screaming.
I'm at least going to stand, if I can't get into that game.
I'm getting booed for standing outside the stadium. There's the crowd. If you turn your car stereo up or whatever you're listening to.
I just think if we can't get into the game, which I don't see happening, because I definitely see me, doing whatever I can to get tickets. But if we can't, enough to a degree, mind you. But if we can't get into that game, I think that we at least should go to King Street Grill, like we always do, down on Occidental, which is a good, it's a ways away from the stadium, and just to hear, if we can hear it from there, I'm sure we would be able to. I'm sure.
I think people that are at that stadium should start jumping up and down to cause another beastquake on top of it.
Beastquake. Yeah, we can't. I use that a lot when people are like, the Seahawks. I'm like, I don't see your team starting a earthquake ever. We win. It's pretty funny. So yeah, I'm excited about this Guinness Book of World Records thing. And I actually think this is the only Guinness Book of World Records anything that I have ever been able to be excited about.
Definitely.
All right. Well, Kevin, I had a lot of fun.
All right. Yeah, I did too. That was a great first podcast.
Definitely. I hope that every of our listeners will listen again. Sounded weird. I don't know how to say goodbye. I don't want to.
Yeah, we should be back next week, so you don't have to say goodbye. We'll continue to be on.
See you later, alligator.
Thank you guys for listening.
This has been a presentation of the Pro Football Central Network. For news, blogs, highlights, and more, log on to ProFootballCentral.com.